just need to drink a potion. I'll get the songs right up after that.
We don't have time for that. Just play the song.
Alright, just let me back off so I can play the buffs without carding.
No cards!
Dumo plays.
The hunting horn is the support weapon of the Monster Hunter franchise. People like to argue that it isn't support, but you play songs to buff your teammates. That's support. That said, the songs, though important, are probably the least effective support that you're giving your team. It's not that the songs aren't important, they are, but it's that you can support your team by creating larger openings for more damage opportunities. This is because the hunting horn excels at causing exhaust damage. It's also no slouch in the knockout and part-breaking department either. This means that the most important support that you can give to your team is to cause openings for yourself and your teammates to just wail away on the monster. For this, you actually need to hit the monster, preferably in the face. For this reason, playing songs off in a corner, or corner duding, is not supporting your team. That's not to say to never activate a song without hitting the monster, but that it should be a rare occasion. It's acceptable to buff everyone before running into combat, it's just not needed. The hunting horn is also a rather hard-hitting weapon with fantastic damage potential. So the overall goal for hunting horn? Well, keep the song buffs up while hitting the monster as much as possible, preferably in the face, to create openings for big damage. Note, you are not a hammer. You want to hit the face, but if there's a hammer in the group, that's their priority. You hit elsewhere. Luckily, for you, hunting horn doesn't bounce off anything as long as the self buff is activated, which gives you plenty of options when you either can't hit the face or you aren't the priority. This guide is geared towards beginners, and the hunting horn is a much deeper weapon than it's currently getting credit for in Monster Hunter Rise. So, there's a lot to go through. For these reasons, I'm not going through all the switch skills and I'm not going through all the combos. I will be going over what is needed to get you started on your journey into the hunting horn. There's going to be plenty of resources for how everything links together, so I feel comfortable just giving you a few combos to focus on. Once you're comfortable with everything here, I would branch out to other combos and other playstyles. One thing to note is that at the top of the screen, our user interface changes once we get into the training room, so I just wanted you to see it now. You'll notice that you have a staff where you hold your notes. You also have a gauge that's increasing as you hit the monster, as well as a list of your songs and the notes required to play them. Now that you've seen the user interface during an actual hunt, I can pull you in here to the training room and we can take another look at it. So let's start with the song mechanics. You'll notice the song names. You have Self-Improvement, Attack and Affinity Up, Tremor Negate, and Sonic Waves. You'll also notice the red, blue, and green notes. Within the red note, you'll see an A, the blue note, you'll see an X, and inside the green notes, you'll see both an X and an A. This corresponds to attacks. So let's start by drawing our weapon with X. It draws completely neutral. You'll never get an attack off the draw, mainly because now we can draw and completely play whatever note we want. So let's start with X. So we do 1, and you'll see in the top left that it pops up a note in our staff. We can hold up to 4 notes in our staff. So as we go, once we hit 4 notes, the next one is just going to push everything towards the left, and the first note is going to be gone. If we play 2 of the same note back to back, you'll see they light up, and that's played the song. You'll also notice the Attack and Affinity Up name of the song has highlighted orange to show that it's active. Now, if we were to play Sonic Wave instead, there we go. Now, if we play Sonic Wave instead, you'll notice that we got an effect, but it never lit up orange. That's because it's just an effect. It's not actually a buff. Now, one thing you might be asking is, what about self-improvement? How do we get self-improvement since there's no button coordination to it? Well, for that, we press ZR. And it does perform, and the end of it gives us self-improvement. This is an attack, and it also has iframes at the beginning, so you can use it to dodge things. You'll also notice that this is an attack that you can actually draw directly into. Another thing to note about self-improvement is that once it's up, you get increased movement speed, as well as natural mind's eye. What this means is that no matter how hard the monster is, your attacks won't bounce off of it. This is very important to keep up at all times. It is also the only buff that is just for you, and this is not something that goes to everyone else on your team. But keeping this up prevents you from bouncing and increases your speed, so keep it up at all times. There are two other ways of activating self-improvement. One is using ZL plus X. We do a move called Slide Beat, which uses up one wire button. At the end of it, it plays self-improvement. The other one is if at any point in time we have all three notes up on our music staff. As you can see, we have X and XA. If we add A, we now get another prompt. Press ZR and X. This plays Magnificent Trio. It's a large combo that takes a significant amount of time, and it plays all of our songs, including self-improvement. As you may notice, beside your bar is another gauge that's filling up as we land attacks. Once full, it changes color and starts flashing. Now we can use an attack called Infernal Melody. In order to use Infernal Melody, we have two options. The first one is at the end of Slide Beat, we press ZR. The other way to get to it is at the end of Magnificent Trio. You press ZR at the end, and you do Infernal Melody. While we're on the topic of Magnificent Trio and Slide Beat, do note that you have super armor during this time, which means that you can take damage, but you won't get knocked out of your attack. This is actually really good for powering the monster's roars. However, just note that you are taking damage still, so keep an eye on your health gauge. Now let's talk damage combos. As I said earlier, we want to be damaging the monster in order to cause part breaks, exhaustion, KOs, anything like that that's going to free up more damage opportunities for our teammates. And as I said, we ideally want to be hitting the head, unless of course there's a hammer that would take priority over the head. So how we want to play it is we generally would want to play around Magnificent Trio. So we're going to get into Magnificent Trio in two different ways as basic combos, as this is just a basic guide. There's a bunch of different ways and different combos for Hunting Horn. Everything flows really well together, but these are two that I find very, very useful. So the first one is going to be moving. We want to press X, A, then X and A. That's our quickest way into Magnificent Trio. The next combo we want to use is going to be while moving, X plus A, X, then A. It's a little bit slower getting in, but it does a lot more damage. If you have more time to commit, do the second one. If you have less time, do the first one. Another combo that's commonly used is your Perform and your Forward Crush. So, ZR into A, back into ZR, into A. This builds your Infernal Melody very quickly. Now let's talk about what we do when we don't have time to fit in these entire combos. It's really nice to get in the 3-hit combo plus the Magnificent Trio, but if you only have time for a little bit, we need another plan. You, of course, could do the 3-hit combo and then wait for a better chance to do Magnificent Trio, but what if you don't even have enough time for the 3-hit combo? Let's talk about poking the monster. This is very important, especially in the early stages of the match, where the monster moves around quickly, it's at full health. As we hit it, we'll chip it down, we'll do more damage to it, we'll cause exhaust and build up part breaks, stuns, things like that. So, the first move to chip with, we're going to be moving and press X. It's a nice, long reach attack that does good chip damage. And remember, we can roll out immediately afterwards. If need be, we can go immediately into our Perform, which will give us a dodge roll essentially, plus an attack. However, you can't perform in any direction. You only have the direction that's in front of you. The next one, similar vein, is going to be moving A. Again, remember we can dodge out of it immediately. to reduce the end lag, and we can dodge in any direction. We also have the option to perform. And remember, A, perform, A, perform, again, is another way to build up infernal memory very quickly. The next poking option is if you have a little bit more time, it's moving, X and A. This one actually does 2 hits, with the second one being the big one. We also have options to use an attack like X, A, and X and A, all while standing still, and it changes the attack. If you're standing on the right side of the monster, A gives you a right swing. It starts low and to the right and ends high and to the left. Also remember, you can roll out immediately after it. This is great if you're beside the monster on one side and you want to hit the head even though there's arms that are possibly close to the head. You can get the swing off and hit the head pretty clean. On the contrary, if you're on the left side of the monster, X with no movement allows you to perform a left swing, starting low on the left and ending high to the right. It's another great way of hitting the head when you're on the left side of the monster, even if you're beside it. Also remember, you can roll out of any of these at any time. Now we'll talk about the X and A strike for poking when we don't have any movement. It's a backward strike. One thing you can do with this strike is run in, turn your back to the monster, and do the overhand strike, and again, immediately roll out and get out of the way. The last attack we're going to talk about for poking is going to be our perform with Z and R. And again, we can roll out rather quickly. As the fight drags on, you'll notice that the monster starts getting exhausted. It'll start breathing hard. It might go down, it might fall more. Depending on part breaks you get, they might fall over when they're charging at you. This is when you'll have more time. You'll be able to do Magnificent Trio and Infernal Melody back to back, as well as setting it up. The other attack that you want to keep in mind is your ZL plus A button, which does Earthshaker. It's a 2-hit attack. It does massive damage. And you want to try to get this in as often as you can, but it does take time. So you're going to have to pick your spots. Earthshaker also has a fairly short range, so just watch out. Even a monster stepping back a tiny step can throw your Earthshaker off, and you'll completely miss, wasting 2 wire bugs. If you run off to a corner to perform, we call this corner duding, and it's extremely frowned upon. The reason being that yes, you're getting the buffs up, but as said before, your most important thing is not the buffs, and while important, it's the damage to the monster and the effect that it has, causing KOs, exhaust, and part breaks. That's going to open up damage opportunities for you and your teammates. So don't be corner duding. Let's briefly talk about starting fights as a new Hunting Horn player. Remember how I said corner duding is very frowned upon? Well, at the very beginning of the fight, in the first encounter, it is completely acceptable for new players to corner dude. Just the first time. If you need to get your self-improvement up before you run in, feel free. If you want to get the whole group up, do a quick combo, then perform your Magnificent Trio, and then run in and get poking away at the monster. Do not corner dude after this, but at the very first one, it's acceptable just to get all the buffs up for everyone. With that said, it's very common for more experienced Hunting Horn players to just go in without any buffs on and get them up during the fight. A common start, especially if you happen to have an attack up song, is to run in, do 2 attack ups, and then immediately go into your slide beat to go through the roar, which gets your self-improvement up. From there you have attack up, you have self-improvement up, and it becomes a lot easier to poke away at the monster while doing extra damage in order to get your Magnificent Trio going to get all the rest of the songs up. At the beginning of fights, or when a monster's enraged and they're at their most dangerous, you're going to start off with the poking attacks. You're going to pick the attack that makes the most sense at the time. You'll do a single attack and get out. It's just going to be a hit and run style. However you can get the attacks in. If at any point in time, you can get all 3 up, you can play Infernal Melody. If you don't have time to do it in close, it's okay to do it away at the beginning of the fight, but hold on to it for actual damage during the fight. Tomorrow I'm going to post the full Rathian fight from the beginning of this video. I'll give some explanations as to what's going on during the fight, and in conjunction with this video, I think it should help tie everything together. The video will be in the cards in the top right, as well as linked in the description. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and even subscribe. If you're interested in joining our Discord community, feel free to join through the link in the description. Until next time, doot doodaloot doot in the monster's face, please. And have yourselves a great day.